Good morning. We are going to be learning today Rambam in Hilchos Shluchim B'Shutfim, Paired Days, Halacha Days, and contrasting what the Rambam writes here with what he writes in Hilchos Gerushin, Paired Vav Halacha Tes. And we were discussing that today. Mirza Hashem. So, in Hilchos Shluchim B'Shutfim, he says that Oisa Adam Shliach Ish Oy Isha, person can make a Shliach a man or a woman. Fila Ashes Ish, Fila Eved V'Shivcha Hoyil, and here he puts a very important point. Vehein B'nei Das. They have intellect. They have what's called Das. Exactly the definition of Das. Or they have enough intellectual ability to, as long as they have enough intellectual ability to be considered a Ben Das, a Bar Das. And even though an Evan, the Shifcha, this is basically where he's focused on, are potter for many mitzvahs, but they yeshnam b'mitzvahs, nas and shluchim lamas and mat. They can be shluchim for business transactions and so forth. Aval mi she'einam b'nei das. Those who don't have that level of das. V'hein cheresh sheita v'cotton. And our main focus is here on cotton. Einon nasin shluchim. They cannot become shluchim. You can't send them on a shlichus. And they can't make a shliach. And here he adds, echad cotton, echad ktana. Whether it's a male or female, a child under the age of bar or bas mitzvah, cannot have somebody go on their behalf. Can have somebody do something that they are required to do, and a transaction on their behalf. Okay, so now then he goes through the halachas where it is relevant, but that's the fact. A shlichus requires b'nei das. Where does that come from? We'll get to that at some point, but it seems clear that to be a shliach, to make a shliach, requires das. Without das, you can't do it. Okay. Now let's take a look at halacha that has aroused the curiosity and definitely the questioning of many. And that is in Perek Vav Halacha Tes in Hilchos Gerushin. The Rambam writes that there is such a thing called, just so to give a bit of a overview, when a person wants to send a divorce document to his wife. So, by the way, and many times today it's done in Bezin very often. You send it to a shliach. Now, the woman doesn't have to be there to get the get. She can send two types of shliach. One's called a shliach lahava, when the person goes, picks up the get on her behalf, and brings it back to her. What kind of a shlichus is that? It requires discussion, but it's not for now. And then there is a much stronger type of shlichus she can create, which is called a shliach likabala. Shliach likabala means that person literally takes her place, and as soon as the get reaches that person's hand, she's divorced. So the Rambam says as well. You get it and send it to me. It's as if he said, V'yesh le'isha lases shliach Kabbalah, lekabbalah, gita, miat, shluchai, shalbai. Not only that, she can go shliach to shliach. It doesn't have to be to the husband. What the chiddush there is, again, requires a discussion on its own. However, the next halacha is the key. Uketana eina oisa shliach lekabbalah. Ketana can't make a shliach lekabbalah. Now the Rambam seems to say what's bothering him, but we still don't understand what he said. Ava bishechatzera koinala. Even though she's like an adult when it comes to her chotzer, but a shliach she can't make. Now listen why. So if somebody would ask us after learning the Rambam in Hilchos Shluchim, we'd say, of course, you're not about das. Nope. There's a shliach kabbalah sorech edim. For some reason, and again, this requires a conversation on its own. A shliach kabbalah requires edim. Whereas a shliach lahalacha doesn't, a shliach lahava doesn't. The ein me'iden alakot, sheina bendas gemura. Not a complete bendas. You can't give edus. Why is that? We will discuss that soon. But that's the rule. So since you cannot say edus for a cotton, that's why she can't make a shliach l'kabbalah. Now, which means she can make a shliach hava, which is what the Pnei Yeshua says in Gittin, and he's medayik that yes, could. Now, the first to note this discrepancy is the Ravid, as he will always be standing there watching. And he writes, in his traditional language of being very, very sharp, it has no taste or smell. In English, that would mean it makes no sense. Ella, it says a pasuk, atem gam atem, which is by Truma. So we learn out atem gam atem l'Rabbi shluchachem. That we learn that that's where you learn shlichus, because an atem gam atem we learn out from the word gam atem is like somebody like you, and therefore ma atem and edas shluchachem. Just like you have to be a bendas, so the shliach has to be a bendas. So that's where you learn it. So the Ravid here is consistent with the Rambam there. But everybody asks, and many ask, many ask. That's the lashon of the Mefarshim Makshima Elam. Many Mefarshim ask. The Rambam seems to contradict himself. From Hilchos Shluchim, from Hilchos Gershon. Now there are various answers, and I'm going to go through some of them briefly. The Lechem Mishnah, again, the answers are much more long. There's a lot more there, but I'm going to just take out the main point. Lechem Mishnah says as follows: the rule is as it says in Hilchos Shluchim, but an hour Rambam that we're learning today, that anybody who's not a bandas can't make a shliach because shlichus requires das. However, here there is a unique situation because, as the Rambam writes, because she has a chotzer, and chotzer and shlichus, he brings sources that they are synonymous in their abilities, and therefore a shliach should work. And therefore, and which fits very well with the words of the Rambam. And the shliach is not worse than a chotzer. And since you can have a chotzer, she can have a shliach and zehu. Now, they're not going to tell you this is easy to understand, but that's what he says. So that's why I need a new answer, because you can't have edus l'kah. The Eben Hazel, Mrs. Alman, says another point. He says they're talking about different people, and he's medayik that in the Rambam too. I mean, and he's medayik, but it fits with the Rambam. He says in Hilchos Shluchim, we're talking about a real cotton gomer, doesn't have any das. Hilchos Gershon, we're talking about Katana that we're not sure. She's at an age where das is already Shaykh to her. So there, she may be able to make a Shliach. So we need the reason. Now it would fit with the Rambam's Lashon, She'ena ben das Gemura. Because we're talking about not Gemura, we're not sure. And that's why it's not Shaykh. I think he brings that. Reb Chaim has an Amichus Sachi Gedela. And we're not, again, going to spend the time on all the details of what he says because there's a lot said over there. But he follows more or less the path of the Lechem Mishnah that you need das for Shlichus. You need das for Shlichus. However, why do we need in Hilchas Gershon the reason they made no Akot? Because there is possible cases, and he rings rayas, and that's why I'm not getting into it, that a get could be a schus for the ktan. Now, since it's Shriya, it would help. Shlichus would help. And that's what that brings some chotzer, that if it's a schus law, it works. Even if she's not standing next to it, so it's not Yodam Mamish, and she can be kind of her. And that's and the only reason you can't do it because you need Aiden. And maybe not cut. So according to the Reb Chaim and the Rizal, the Chiddush in Hilchas Gershon is a unique cases. A cotton that's a little that's within range of das. A katana, a katana that is a schus for her, and according to the Lechem Mishnah, it's an Indian in get b'chlal, right? That she has, because it has chotzer, she can be okay. All right, the Sefer Gerish Yirochim, Gittin Daf Samachay, goes on a different approach to the Rama. And he says that really, anytime you send the Shliach, there's a problem. Because if you send the Shliach, you can be mevatel the Shliach. So he says that if you do it in front of Eidim, then you can't be mevatel it without Eidim. Because the dibur in front of Eidim is like a much stronger dibur. As long as you don't have Eidim that he was mevatel that dibur, you can't do anything. But by a katana, since her words in front of Eidim don't have a din, a value, because Eidim don't mean anything to her. In her case, because Eime Idna Laktan. So therefore, we're always concerned that she's mevatel, and therefore she can't. Interesting explanation. That's his approach. Okay, again, I'm just mentioning different answers that people get into. The Pnei Yeshua comes up with a different approach to the Rambam. And I want to focus on that because I believe that gives us a much different input, and perhaps it'll explain the machlekes, the Rambam and the Rabbi much better. He says there's a concept called das acheres makna, which means that if a cotton gets a matona from somebody, the other person's das is makna. And brings a tesis there in Gittin of Samach Dalid that says this. You say, and then they said this, that you can only be, listen to this, you can only learn out that a cotton is not good because atam ganatam is something that the cotton doesn't have her own, or katana doesn't have their own ability to do this. But when it comes to Zriya, since they can be Zeicha for themselves, they can be Zeicha Namilacher, they can be Shluchim. So it comes to Bnei Yeshua as like this. A Ktana can be Makabal a get. If she can watch her get, she can be Makabal. So therefore, she can make a Shliach. And then he says, that's what the Rambam was bothering. Why? Why can't she make a Shliach the Kabbalah? And he says, because no Shaykh Edus. But that Shliach la Halacha, she can make. And he used an unbelievable lush on the Rambam. Zen Nitzel Ha'ari, meaning the Rambam, Miyad Ha'roya, meaning the Rav. And he says that the Atem Gamatem is not a problem because she has a Yad in Gittin. I want to just note that there is a Sikha of the Rebbe in Parshas Keirach, Cherik Lamed Gimel, that deals with this in other aspects, but he mentions this and he follows a similar pattern, but it's not for here, but he does get into more or less, he mentions some parts of what we're getting into, but he goes in a different direction. In the whole concept, he's not really focused on this, but he mentions the difference between Gittin and what Mefarshim saying. Okay, so now we have something to go on that separates Gittin Be'etzem from everything else. Because in Gittin, she can be Makabel. But I want to get into this. They should ask a different question. He doesn't understand the Rambam. What do you mean there are no Eidos for Aktana? And how are there ever Eidei Mesira by a get? I mean, when there's, by a get of Aktana, that is. According, you need Eidei Chasim or Eidei Mesira. That they're Eidim for Aktana. You just told me there's no Eidos for Aktana. So, the Ksav Sefer says that since a woman, and then is this Garish Balkorcho, since a woman is this Garish Balkorcho, so it's not about her, it's about him. So, but when you're talking about whether she can make a shliach, which is about her, that's a maiden alaktana. So we have to understand, if we're saying that she's nothing, it's all him. So how do you, what's her minui hashlichus? How could she make a shliach? In other words, what is she if she's nothing? If it's him, it's all him, then what's she? So that's what I want to focus on for a few minutes. So the Rambam Hilchos Mechira Perek Pesach Aleph, famous Rambam Yirli Shekotten Shekona Karka V'Nosen Domim V'Hirzik V'Karka Tamei B'Yadai. Cotton acquires land, paid, made a chazaka, it's his. He says, when he sells karka, it's nothing. Because hakotten kimisha eine b'fanenu, which is, by the way, the reason, perhaps, or most likely, and I don't know, that's what the reason is, when the Rambam says that ein me'idin al hakotten, because he's not here. The Zachin answer is, and for the Rambam, Zachin la'adam shalei b'fanav ein chavim la'el b'fanav. There it is. This is chus. Zachin la'adam shalei b'fanav. So to explain this, the Ketzais, the Simmereish Lamed Hey, Sif Cotton now, says the following, and again I'm going to go to the essence of what he says without going through the details. That a cotton makes a maisakin, but the maisa can't be chal because they have das. Comes along the das makne, that through his das, the kinyan can be chal with the din of zoch. So now you have the Maisa Kinyan and the Kavanas Kinyan generally have to be done by one person. But in a case where there's a Das Acheres Makna, the Das Acheres can help create the Maisa, can make the Maisa of the cotton a Maisa Kinyan. So matana, where somebody gives it to you, it works. That's okay. So I want to go through the rule, what we know about a cotton right now, and how, and then transfer it to the discussion that we're having. A cotton is as if he doesn't exist. We said that's the reason, simply, why a maiden a cotton, because he's not here. However, through das acheres makna, a cotton can be kind. A kana can make a shliach lahava, as the Bnei Yeshua says that clearly. And she would be able to make a shliach kabbalah, except she needs Adam. And there's no Adam on a cotton. And however, they can be made on the Gerusha Katana, even though she's not here. And that's how you can be made on her, but she's not the one that's doing the Gerusha. So what's going on here? Let's try to codify what this is. So, the Rambam learns that a cotton, mitzad his mitzius is a cotton, he's not there. But through das acheres makna, the Torah, by get, there's like the das acheres, more than das acheres. There's one das acheres, but by get there's another point. The Torah made him a mitzius. The nosam biyodo made her a mitzius. And that means that the cotton has it exists. But what does it exist as? To be a yad, to be makabel again. And how does that happen? Because the godel has to give it biyodo. So there's das acheres mak. And then there's the nosam biyodo that makes her exist. Mitzad the hand, but not on her own, because he needs her hand. In other words, she becomes a means for his get. So that's an existence. It's an existence as a means. And by Schia Matana, whereas the Das Acheres works, that the Godel becomes the Das of the cotton. But the main thing we want to focus on Gittin, the fact that it needs to come to her, so she's a means for the chalais of the get. So, that's the answer to the Bnei Yeshua's question. Not so much, I don't know if you have to go to the extreme of the Ksav Sefer that they're only made on him. They're being made on her only in the sense of her being an emtsoi, a means for the get. Because the Torah made her a means. So when it comes to Yoda, she exists. In order to make a shliach, she can make a shliach. Because you can't tell me atam gam atam, as we said, Tyson says, because the Isa benafsha, she's able to do it. The Torah gave her a hand. But when you want to give edus on this, you want to say edus. You're not saying edus on her hand. You're saying edus on her. She doesn't exist. In the Maisa Baal, then you can tell me her hand is meaningful. But when you're talking about her as a person to create something, then you have to look at her. As a her, she doesn't exist. In other words, even though she has a hand for shlichus, be'etzem, she can make a shliach lahava, because that's all about her hand. But when you're trying to make that's about her hand. Not a problem. She can have somebody bring it to her. But when you want to have Adam be testifying on this person creating something, Adam can't do that. Adam don't see this person. They see the hand. They see the hand being created by the nesina of the Baal. So I think that concept, if you take it really to the extreme, we can understand the machlekes Rambam, right? The Rambam holds that the Torah gave her a hand, and since her hand is a necessity in the process of the get, so it's shayich shlichus be'etzem. It's in the eyes of the Adam that she's non-existent, because you have to be made on the person. The person is still a child. In other words, the hand is there. As far as her hand is, it's a metzius. As far as Adam, different story. Being made on the person, you can't be made on a hand. Yeah, and the person, means on the person, like that. But mitzad dinyan of shlichus should be okay, because she's been the nafsha. The Rav argues in the Rambam. He also agrees. It says v'nasa biyada, but he holds v'nasa biyada happens only when there is a v'nasa. Otherwise, the yada is also non-existent. You can't be a yada. You have to be a v'nasa. Then there's a biyada. So at the moment of the giving, her hand becomes a metzius. But Stamazay, she's nothing. Doesn't exist. And that's why, according to Rambam argues on the right. The Rav argues on the Rambam. So the Rambam's Ravid machlekes is, does V'nosam B'yoda give her a hand? Or V'nosam B'yoda only is a hand when there's a V'nosam? And that would be the machlekes. Okay. Seid gesund. Stark. Have a great day. Hatzlacha. Rabbi,